For if this first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with them, or with the house of Israel, and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with them, or with their fathers, in the days when I took them by the hand and led them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant, Wally, listen to this. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their mind, and write them in their hearts. Amen. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me my people, or a people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. And that he saith, A new covenant he hath made, the first old. Now that which decayeth and waxeth old is ready to vanish away. Amen. Dear Heavenly Father, in Jesus Christ's name, God, Lord, I love you. I just ask again, Lord, that you would just move. What more can I ask, Lord? I want it to be from my heart, not vain repetition. You know what my heart's desire is, Lord. I pray that you would meet my prayer, Lord. I know that you are well able and that you are capable and that you want to. So I pray that you would just answer my prayer this evening. Move and touch your people and let me not trouble you or get in the way. In the name of Jesus I pray. Amen. Amen. The book of Hebrews. A lot of people think that Paul wrote it, but a lot of the mannerisms and the way it is written would seem like it wasn't. Now, some people would speculate maybe he grew in his writings and what have you, but we don't know who the author is. But we do know why it was written. We can go throughout these passages and see that it was to encourage the Jewish Christians of the day. Right? We know that Jesus said, I came not bearing peace. He said, I came bearing a sword to set household against household. I'm paraphrasing when I say, to set brother against sister and against your father and your mother. Because this is what he did. When he came around with this doctrine and this teaching and this truth, for he fulfilled it all. He was setting household against household.
Oh, yes, he was.
He was not only setting household against household, he was basically, the people of the day, they were placing a marker, a bounty upon their head to be killed, to be martyred. And that's why, the baptism of the day was so significant. To go down to the river, to make a public display, to go into the water and come out, that represented death. To go into the water represented dying, and to come out of the water represented life.
Yes.
Reborn.
To walk, to go and walk around in this robe, amen? Or just to walk around after being in the water, to confess out loud with your mouth, to make the proclamation, Christ is Lord.
Right.
You put a mark on your head.
Yes, dangerous.
Amen. The Pharisees would be against you. Jesus said, they persecuted me. They'll also do the same to you. I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Of course.
To accept Christ in these times was a very, very big thing. It was life-changing, much as it is today. The book of Hebrews was meant as an encouragement to these people. Because these people, they were promised. They were promised, that the Lord would be king and this, that, and the other, and that eternal life, and that he was coming back, but they hadn't seen the signs yet. They hadn't seen, they hadn't heard the trumpet, they hadn't heard, when he would be back. There was no prophecy saying, this, that, and the other, because, the Revelations had not yet come around. The book of Revelation.
Right.
This was an encouragement to the people to stay in the faith. To lay down the laws and explain what this is, what the covenant is, who Jesus was, was a really big point to this, which is why it was really emphasized in the first chapter. You know, he's better than the angels. He's better than any normal man. That he is a high priest. He's better than anybody in as far as his deity. He was better than anybody as far as his humanity. Amen. That's why it says that he obtained, a more greater name. See, he could have stayed, just imagine him sitting and staying in heaven before he had to come down on earth. How great is he? Even then. But to humble himself, it says to humble, to be a man, to be obedient unto death. Through that, he obtained a greater name. Amen. A lot of the times the Jehovah's Witnesses, they take that passage and they say, well, because he was faithful, that's why he was elevated to sonhood. No, it doesn't say that. No, it's because of the work. That's what they think.
Yes.
It's because of the work that he did on earth.
Right.
To humble himself to be a man. At any point in time, he could have resumed his godly attributes and then continued that walk. And he did at a time. We remember Peter, I think it was Peter and James, where he told them that you would see me come in my power and my glory, or something to that nature. The transfiguration, when they followed him up into the mount, and they said that he was speaking with Moses and Elijah, and Peter said, should we even be here? Should we build an altar for you three?
Yes.
That he showed them. It's called the transfiguration.
Right.
So he was able to resume it to show them, because he said, there are some here that will see me in my glory, or something to that nature. I'm paraphrasing. Before you die. And that was when he fulfilled that promise. He showed that he had the ability to resume his godly attributes at any time. When he was tied to a post, when he was being whipped, by his stripes were healed. By his stripes were healed. He was obedient and he was faithful. At any time, he could have resumed. He could have called down legions of angels. And you know what? I was just reading. I'm going to get into it. I was going to mention it soon or later. But there's passages in the book of Samuel where it talks about the angels and their power. Where, well, this is probably news to you. The part where, God sent an angel to destroy Israel. I'll read it real quick because I don't want you guys to be confused about it. Amen.
Is it Samuel?
Yes. 2 Samuel. I just had it marked as Proverbs.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did they baptize, did they do baptism like they did in the New Testament, in the Old Testament?
It speaks about a baptism into Moses, but that's a whole other topic for another day. Let me just find this real quick. I had it folded over in my page. 2 Samuel. Maybe I didn't mark it. Oh, there it is. There it is. 1 Samuel. One moment, I unfolded it. Anyways, I forgot where I was going. Speaking about the angels and the greater covenant that he had established with us. I'll just continue on. I just want to find this real quick, actually. Forgive me.
Excuse me.
This is very important. I thought I had my page folded over because I was just reading it.